So basically, the idea behind this is in the OCG it is at 3, while it is banned here. So the question is with the build a board format that we just kind of went through, would Maxx C have been good for the game to maybe counteract the Goki strategy of extra linking with Firewall Dragon, and even now with a lot of the special summons, now that the game is very fast, is it actually a healthy counter to the game? Dave, what is your side? That it is healthy?
I will argue that Maxx C is healthy for Yugi Mans. You have a soft tummy, Marty. Sheepy kitty.
Okay, here's your timer is set. Would you like to make your opening statement?
Long past are the days where you could normal summon one monster and set 2 back row and it be a decent opening board. Nowadays, if you want to win a duel, you need to make a long wombo combo going +5 and summoning 5 monsters, all with a negate or some sort of floodgate effect, in order to have any kind of shot at winning the game. So hand traps seem to be the only saving grace for somebody who is going second against the gross build-a-board format that we find ourselves in, and we have found ourselves in for the last probably 5 years. And cards like Maxx C, which deter your opponent from doing exactly that, building a board, are perfect for this game. And without Maxx C, things like Spiral or Goki or any of these other weird tier 0 formats we've had can exist because there's nothing stopping them from just exploding onto the board.
That's time. Okay. Alrighty here. So I don't think Maxx C is healthy for the game because it actually limits your deck building variations. I think one of the reasons that it was banned in the first place is because every single deck just main 3. No matter what you're playing, no matter which way you were going first or second, everyone main 3 Maxx C. At 1, it is far too sacky because if one player sees it and the other doesn't, then the player who saw it is probably going to win because it puts their opponent at a huge disadvantage. And if it's at 3, then again, the same idea. You're going to have a first couple turns of whoever sees it first or sees more of it is going to be at a much greater advantage than by card advantage or whatever like that. Because of the way the current game is heavily emphasized the lots of special summoning with the link mechanic, I think this is not something that Konami would want to promote. All right. You ready for your first counterpoint, David?
Yes.
And go.
Maxx C is entirely important in our current format. Building boards is just the worst, and having Maxx C at your disposal is the only thing you can use to fight that. If both players, as you say, have it at 3, then you are both on equal footing. You see it enough in order to not have to worry about it being sacky, and you will actually go into the duel knowing that both people have 3, and your deck will be built accordingly, and you will make plays according to that.
Okay.
Ryan's like,
It's hard, isn't it?
I never said it wasn't. The main reason that I feel like it is unhealthy is the decks that are the spammy build-a-board decks are the ones that are also going to be playing the cards. So they're going to go first If their opponent doesn't open it, and they do, they're gonna go first, build a break a board first turn board, and then sit on Maxx C so their opponent has no hope of ever recovering. And that is something that that did happen when it was at 3. Okay, Dave?
Is this my closing statement?
Your closing statement.
No one will ever say that Maxx C isn't one of the most powerful cards in the game, and certainly one of the most powerful hand traps at our disposal. Things like Ash Blossom are just simple 1-for-1s, or even possibly just a -1 to you, but certainly Maxx C is the only hand trap that you can use will ever gain you card advantage. However, it is a necessary evil because without it, all these spam decks go unabated, and with it, at least you can metagame properly.
Okay. I think I've used up all my arguments. It's bad.
You have to
I know that
It's
feeling.
bad.
Last time, it's like, what do I say? You blew your load too early, like I did. Oh, it's hard.
I guess I'm just gonna reiterate what I said before.
That's fair.
Having Maxx C in the game does limit your deck building. Everyone's going to play 3 of it. If it's at 3, everyone's going to be playing around it. It's going to completely warp the entire way the game is played. It's kind of this black hole of I need to keep an eye out for this card. You know it's being played. You know you're playing it, and it just affects the game on a whole. All right, so that's those are our arguments for whether Maxx C is healthy for the game or if it should come back or stay banned. What do you guys think?
Laugh? Did you lose?
You'll lie.
Lie.
Oh, that's not it. So let us know in the comments and in the chat what you think. I think once I parse this out, there should be a poll up in the top right corner, the little eye. You can vote for who you think wins or what your thoughts are on that. What are you saying?
A lot of people are just salty about Maxx C, I think. Look at all these scrubs.
You have to understand, David, that some of these scrubs don't know how to play around Maxx C. So when they see it, they just combo off still and then lose.
Well, I mean, unless you had Firewall Dragon, and then you can just loop your opponent and make him deck out. That's your big brain play. We don't need Maxx C back to 3. We just need Maxx C back to 3 along with Firewall Dragon. That's what we need.
Rival Sir Drew says, I personally want it back at 3, but unfortunately Maxx C both helps and hurts creative decks, mostly because it just makes the players risk to keep going or stop the flow of their turn. Captain Jiggles Gaming and Hobbies says Maxx C isn't healthy or unhealthy. It may, however, be a necessary evil, like Dave said, to stop swarming ducks. Nazumi Kuroni says Dave lost in my opinion because in the last few formats there have been no tier 0 deck and control decks have always been top contenders like Sky Strikers and now Salamangreat. His basis is wrong. Cheetah says, I would say Maxx C is a very healthy and important card to bring back and promotes going second in technical play, but I just don't like the card, but it should come back. Maxx C plays into the last argument about being skillful. You main 3 or you lose, and you never side it out unless you play the 1 in 1,000 Monarchs or 2 Draco player, making it unhealthy.
It does have that upstart syndrome where you're just nerfing yourself if you're not playing 3 in the main, you know? And there's no reason to ever take it out unless you're going against like True Dracos.
Unless the meta is something that doesn't special summon a lot. I think by the end of before Maxx C got put to 1, I think Monarchs were doing pretty.
I don't think people were necessarily maining it when Monarchs were terrible.
No, I think
I remember
opening a couple copies of it against a Monarch player is a good way to lose.
Yeah. But then right after Zeus came out, and they're like, oh, it would be great if we had that Maxx C.
And again, the argument for it would be that, well, the OCG has it, so why can't we?
It's not a problem, right?
Right.
I don't think so.
It's a very different format. They also have needle fiber, so they kind of need that.
Right, I think it's
Fair
in every
enough.
deck, so I think, again, their decks are arbitrarily just have Maxx C in it.
I will say, I will say that my actual opinion, I do not like any card that becomes a true staple. Yu-Gi-Oh! Thankfully
At
doesn't
3
really-
anyway. I think
Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of doesn't have any true staples.
mhm.
Where if you don't run this one card, you're bad. Like there
Right.
is we actually have quite a few decks which, wouldn't really want to run Pot of Extravagance, despite the fact that it's a fantastic draw card.
Or
But
Pot of
it's
Desires.
it's no Pot of Greed. Like
Right.
it's not a true staple. Like if you're a Link Climb deck, you can't afford a Pot of Extravagance because you're going to hit one of your 2s or 3s and it's going to screw you up. So like. Or if you're playing like a deck like, I don't know, Spirals or something where you have a bunch of weird garnets or whatever, you can't afford Desires. Like, we don't have true staples in this game. And I think that is a positive aspect of the game. And Maxx C does fly in the face of that kind of deck building where it's like, all right, well, you can play any deck in the world as long as it's 37 cards.
Right.
Like,
Yuri said, I think it was Yuri said that it kind of it's unhealthy because it forces you to play a card or else lose. If everyone needs
Isn't
to
that
play,
the opposite of what Dave just said?
No, that's agreeing with what I said. I kind of don't like true staples. I think it's
Right.
kind of silly. It's kind of lame.
I think true staples being
Monster Reborn.
stuff
I don't
that's
think Monster
okay
Reborn is necessarily a true staple.
stuff that's
I don't know what
okay
deck
at
wouldn't play
one. A true staple could be something like Upstart Goblin, where it's a card at 1, and
Right.
if you draw it, that's great. It's not a complete blowout, but it can go in any deck. And I think
so like
Maxx
true,
C
yeah.
Maxx C cannot be at 1. It cannot exist at 1 because it's a little too sacky, kind of like Soul Charge.
Yeah.
In Maxx C at 1, I think it doesn't matter what side of the argument. Maxx C at 1 is dumb.
Yes.
Like, because it makes no sense to deck build around it or even play around it. Because the likelihood of your opponent using it on you is very low.
Right.
So you are going to go in. You are going to go ham. You're going to activate that Soul Charge on or that on that Norden, and then get your freaking mollywomped by your stupid sack of a Maxx C.
So the other, and again, this kind of goes against my stance in the argument. The argument for bringing Maxx C back is that now that more cards have come out that are being played regularly to counter Maxx C, like Ash counters it, Called by the Grave counters it. Any sort
Ash
of
on Maxx C sounds fun.
right. So like that interaction didn't exist when the card was legal. So now is it safer to come back?
Like, are we all talking from an ignorant standpoint?
Probably, definitely, as always.
I meant the TCG players in general, because
Right.
I don't think we've ever had a format with Maxx C and
Ash.
Ash.
I don't think so.
I assume we would main the 3 Ash solely for Maxx C.
I
You're
think
maining them anyway, so it's not.
not necessarily. I think a lot of decks are siding Ash. I think a lot of the Pendulum decks are siding him. I think
Maybe
a lot
Called.
of
Most people are at least
Called
Called.
is probably the closest to a main deck staple as far as going turn 1, like going
I'm
first
not a
decks.
huge fan of the just because there's outs to it means it can come back argument.
I'm not a fan of that argument either. I
No,
think that's dumb,
no.
'cause-
Yeah, I mean, I know it is a argument, but it's not one that I'm fully, is.
I think you should at least consider that the format is different.
Mhm.
I think that is an important argument that Ryan is making. It's not
Yes.
necessarily why it's different, but it is different, and that is
We don't know if it's healthy for this format because
it's apples to oranges.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good.
Pretty.
Great Aaron says, activate Maxx C, chain Ash Blossom, chain Call by the Grave, and finally, chain Ghost Spell.
Chain Ghost Spell to your Ghost Spell. Probably just opened a bunch of weird hand traps.
Hand traps in a
We
barrage.
both thought we bricked until we saw the other one's hand. Now we're top decking.
Everybody was top deck fighting. Yeah. Okay, so that is the Maxx C discussion.
Did you take the Maxx C discussion?
I took the Maxx C discussion challenge.
Sounds like a deck out to me.
A deck out.
He decked me out. I think the general consensus in the chat is that it is not healthy for the game and that it doesn't.
Very interesting. I was under the assumption everyone liked Maxx C.
I like the card, but I acknowledge it's kind of dumb. I just kind of like it for some weird reason. I think it's because I like the fact that when you drop it, your opponent kind of like the color in their face kind of. They're like, oh no.
Although I will
need
say,
to make an actual strategic decision.
But it's okay, Dave. You play decks that aren't hurt by Maxx C.
That's probably why I'm like, I'm playing Galley. I'm just gonna set 5 and pass. You can Maxx C me all day. Like, go for it, bro.
I'm gonna go
Maxx C on their turn.
1 for 1.
1 for 1.
I was gonna say something. Maxx C challenge. I guess you could. That would probably shift the format to be just OTK. Just take the Maxx C challenge and OTK.
Yeah, these hard second decks probably won't care.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to draw a bunch of cards. You might draw... I mean, the thing is you'll draw into hand traps, so you might be able to interrupt the play mid-combo if you draw into something. That's the...
Yeah, you wouldn't play Maxx C by itself. You would play it with like Ash and Ogre.
So maybe you could even make the argument for putting in some Swift Scarecrow or Battle Fader or something like that.
Battle Fader meta.
Which would be really funny.